When HOA President Karen Bishop tasered a 12-year-old autistic boy just for bird-watching near the community pool, the neighborhood turned against his family. She called him a peeping creep, hit them with $10,000 in fines, and tried to evict them, all while painting herself as the victim. But when the boy's father got hold of Karen's private emails mocking their trauma, the tide began to turn. And just wait until you hear how this explosive fight for justice ends. Because this time, the bullies didn't win. The spark of rage. My name is James Holloway. I'm just a dad. Nothing fancy. I do HVAC work, coach Little League when I can, and every decision I make is for my son, Ethan. That's why we moved to Whitley Pines. It looked like the kind of neighborhood where a kid like mine could just be safe. Ethan's 12. He's autistic, high-functioning, yeah, but the world doesn't care about labels like that. What matters is that he's quiet, keeps to himself, and has this deep love for birds. Not video games, not sports, birds. He knows every migration pattern in North America. Ask him about the wing shape of a Cooper's hawk. He'll talk your ear off, but only if you're someone he trusts. Most days after school, Ethan would take his little green notebook, strap on his binoculars, pull up his hood, not because he was hiding, just because it helped him feel calm, and walk the neighborhood. He'd trace the same sidewalks, stop under the same trees, sketch what he saw, nothing more. Then she moved in. Karen Bishop. You know the type. Perfect hair, smug smile. The kind of woman who calls the cops on kids selling lemonade without a permit. She bought the big yellow Colonial on Pine Ridge Drive. 2 months later, she was the new president of the HOA. Her first act? Banning excessive loitering. Her second? A community watch group, personally run by her. No oversight, no process. Just Karen deciding who belonged and who didn't. And to her, Ethan didn't. To her, my son was lurking. I remember the day exactly. It was a Wednesday, late afternoon. I was fixing a faucet when Ethan asked if he could go check on the red-shouldered hawk nest near the pool. I said of course. It was part of his routine. He always stayed where I could find him, always texted me when he changed locations. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was a neighbor. "She's yelling at your boy. By the pool." I dropped the wrench and ran. What I saw when I got there. Ethan was backed up against the pool gate, arms tight to his sides, eyes wide. Karen stood in front of him, barking questions. He wasn't answering. He couldn't. When people shout, he shuts down. It's a defense mechanism. She claimed he was casing the area. Said he looked suspicious, like he was scouting for theft. As if a 12-year-old with a bird journal was running recon for a burglary ring. And when he didn't give her the response she wanted, she pulled a taser out of her purse and fired. My son collapsed like a rag doll. I will never forget the sound he made. It wasn't a scream. It was a whimper, a noise of confusion and terror. He curled up, shaking. His pants were wet. He'd lost control of his bladder. He kept saying, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything." By the time I reached him, I wasn't thinking straight. My hands were shaking. I just wanted to make sure he was breathing. I knelt down, checked his pulse, cradled his head, and then I heard her behind me, filming me. Karen Bishop had her phone out, accusing me of interfering with HOA enforcement. I pulled out my own phone to document everything, and she lunged for it. Screaming something about illegal surveillance, she tried to grab it out of my hand. I shoved her away. It wasn't even hard. It was instinct. Get away from my son. She stumbled backward in her kitten heels and fell, face first. Her nose cracked against the concrete. There was blood, a lot of it. That was the moment the sirens came. 2 cruisers, lights flashing. Cops jumped out, hands on weapons. I thought, I knew, this was it, that they'd shoot me. that Ethan would lose his dad on top of everything else. But they didn't. They took statements, talked to neighbors, called for paramedics. And then the real nightmare began. The depth of pain. We thought we were doing the right thing. After Karen tasered Ethan, we went straight to the police. We had video, we had medical reports, we had neighbors who'd seen everything. I thought the truth would be enough. That the justice system, flawed as it may be, would see what really happened. I never expected she would fight back. But she did. She filed a countersuit within days, claimed I had assaulted her when I shoved her, claimed I was defaming her by sharing the video online as if exposing the truth was some kind of slander. She told the news that she feared for her safety, that my son was aggressive, that I was instigating a smear campaign. And the thing is, when someone speaks like that with just enough calm, just enough self-righteousness, people listen. The HOA listened. Or maybe they were just afraid of her too. I don't know. All I know is, instead of holding her accountable, they punished us. They sent us an official violation notice the next week. Hostile conduct toward a board member. $10,000 fine. $10,000 for defending my son. We were stunned. And when we pushed back, when we sent emails, called meetings, tried to plead our case, they retaliated again. They said Ethan's therapy ramp, the one we'd installed with doctor's documentation and city approval, was not in aesthetic compliance. Ordered it removed within 14 days. No exceptions, no discussion, just gone. It was more than just a ramp. It was a symbol of dignity, a way for Ethan to move on his own, to go outside without needing help, and they ripped it away like it was an eyesore. I started to feel like we were being hunted. Then came the final blow, a formal notice from the HOA board. If we didn't drop the charges against Karen and cease creating a hostile environment, the board would begin proceedings to reassess our eligibility for residency under the bylaws. Let me translate that for you. They were threatening to evict us, because we were defending our assaulted autistic child. And that's when things inside our home began to crumble. Ethan shut down completely. He wouldn't go outside, wouldn't write in his bird journal, wouldn't even draw. He barely spoke. At night, he kept the lights on. He said he didn't want the dark to get too close. The boy who used to smile when he spotted a red-tailed hawk now barely lifted his eyes off the floor. The sound of keys jingling made him flinch. The doorbell sent him hiding behind the couch. I tried to help. I really did. But I was falling apart too. My wife, Caroline, tried to hold it together at first. She'd pace the kitchen, clutching her phone, whispering with the lawyers and therapists and the insurance company, always trying to fix it, always trying to protect us. But somewhere in the second month, the calls stopped. She stopped answering texts from her sister, stopped showering, stopped smiling. Wine became her new ritual. She'd pour it like coffee, no drama, no tears, just quiet resignation. One day I found her sitting on the bathroom floor, back against the tub, staring at nothing. She looked at me and whispered, "We should have just let it go." I didn't know what to say. Let it go? Karen electrocuted our son. She left burn marks on his skin. She terrorized him into silence. And now we were the ones who were supposed to apologize? To give up? And me? I started waking up early. Not out of motivation, but out of dread. My stomach would tie in knots before the sun came up. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling fan, wondering what new notice or fine or threat would show up that day. I couldn't eat. I dropped 15 pounds without trying. My hands shook at work. I'd zone out while soldering pipes. I almost caused a gas leak once. I caught myself just in time. At night, I'd kiss Ethan goodnight, tell him he was brave, that we loved him, that he was safe. Then I'd go out to the garage, bury my face in a towel, and scream until my lungs burned. Not because it helped, because it was the only thing I had left that made me feel something. The neighbors stopped waving. Some of them started whispering. Others just looked the other way. Once I heard one of them mutter, "That's the guy suing Karen." Not, "That's the dad whose son was tasered." Not, "That poor family." Just, "That guy." Like we were troublemakers. Like we didn't belong. And Karen? She kept smiling, still walking her dog around the block like a queen surveying her kingdom, still hosting board meetings in her backyard, sipping rosé under string lights while my son sat inside our dark house, trying to convince himself he wasn't the villain. She wore pearls. Always pearls. The little detail that stuck in my head like a splinter. Power and pretense. A shield she didn't deserve. She was the one who hurt us. She was the one who broke our family. And somehow she came out looking like the victim. There's a specific kind of pain when the world decides that your truth doesn't matter. It's like screaming into a void. We were alone. And the worst part? I started to believe maybe we were the problem. Maybe we should have stayed quiet. Maybe we should have packed up and left. Let them win. Let them erase us. But deep down, something still smoldered. And I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. Because there had to be one person out there who still believed in what's right. A glimmer of hope. You'd think hope would arrive with a bang. Some grand moment. A headline. A speech. But for us, it came in a parking lot. I was standing outside Winn-Dixie on a Saturday afternoon trying to wrestle a broken handle on a bag of oranges when I saw her. Marisol Vega. She was on the HOA board. One of them. But she never spoke much. Always sat near the end of the table during meetings, nodding along, eyes down. I used to think she just agreed with Karen out of loyalty, but now, looking back, I think it was fear. That day, she walked right up to me. Didn't say hello. Didn't make eye contact. She pressed an envelope into my hand and said, barely above a whisper, "I can't be part of this anymore." Then she turned and walked away like nothing happened. I stood there frozen. Right hand clutching oranges, left hand gripping a plain white envelope that suddenly weighed about 10 pounds. I opened it in the car. And that's when everything changed. Inside were printed emails, lots of them, dozens, from Karen to other board members to vendors to friends. I read the first one, finally got rid of that little peeping creep. Then the next. Let's see how long the freak show family lasts. My guess, gone by Christmas. Then another. They'll drown in fines. That's how you deal with trash like that, legally. I read them over and over. My hands shook. I couldn't breathe. There it was, in writing, the mask ripped clean off. It wasn't about concern. It was never about safety, or rules, or community standards. It was a campaign, a deliberate, coordinated campaign to destroy us, to bully us out of our home, to break us, slowly and legally. And she had laughed about it. I drove straight home. My jaw locked so tight I thought my teeth might crack. I didn't even take the groceries inside, just handed the envelope to Carolyn and said, "Read this." She sat down on the couch and flipped through the pages, slowly at first, then faster. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. When she reached the last page, she looked at me with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Not fear, not exhaustion, not even sadness. Resolve. She whispered, "We're done hiding." We sent the emails to our lawyer that night. She called us first thing the next morning. Didn't even say hello, just said, "We're taking this federal." Then she paused and added, "James, you need to go public. Let people see what you're dealing with. Let them feel it." So I did. I sat at my desk for over an hour, staring at the screen. I opened the video, the one I'd taken the day Karen tasered Ethan. I hadn't been able to watch it since, but I forced myself. I watched my son fall. I heard his cry. I saw myself running, panicked, and then I watched her, Karen, standing there with her taser, acting like she'd swatted a bug. Then I uploaded it. I included the emails. I wrote a short post. No politics, no hashtags, just the truth. My name is James Holloway. I live in Whitley Pines. 2 months ago, my autistic 12-year-old son was tasered by the HOA president while birdwatching. She claimed he was lurking. She has since sued us, fined us, tried to evict us. Today, I'm done staying quiet. I clicked post, and I waited. At first, nothing. A few likes, a couple shares, then a comment. I'm so sorry. This is horrible. Then 10 more. Then 50. Then it spread. People shared it on neighborhood pages. Then autism advocacy groups picked it up. Then it hit Reddit. Then Twitter. Then the local news. Then a national blog. Within 72 hours, the post had 3 million views. We were getting emails from across the country. Journalists, lawyers, parents. One woman wrote, "They fined me $500 for planting tomatoes in a front yard bed. I didn't fight back. You give me courage." Another man messaged, "My son is nonverbal and got labeled as aggressive by our HOA. Thank you for speaking." We weren't just a fluke. We were a mirror, and people were seeing their own reflection in us. Then the packages started coming. Letters, cards, donations. But one box in particular. It was addressed to Ethan. No return address. Just a note inside. "Dear Birdwatcher, I saw what happened. You didn't deserve it. Here's something so you can keep watching the skies from your own yard. Fly high." Inside was a drone, a high-end quadcopter, camera, GPS, smooth stabilization, fully programmable. Ethan held it like it was made of gold. He didn't say anything, just stared at it, then looked at me, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled. A real smile, not the polite one he forced for doctors. He went outside that same afternoon, watched the sky. The GoFundMe we'd launched quietly with a $15,000 goal, it passed $100,000 in 5 days. I didn't even know how to respond. People weren't just giving money. They were writing full letters, full stories, full paragraphs about their own battles. Neighbors who lost their dogs to noise complaints, single moms fined for toys in the yard, veterans told to take down American flags. The dam had broken, and all we'd done was tell the truth. With the new resources, our lawyer filed the federal lawsuit. It wasn't just about us anymore. It was about civil rights. It was about ADA violations, about harassment, targeting, systematic abuse. Karen was named directly. So was the HOA board. This wasn't going to be a community hearing in someone's garage. This was federal court, and she was going to stand there under oath and answer for what she'd done. She didn't see it coming. She tried to stay in control at first, put out a statement, blamed miscommunication, said her comments were taken out of context, hired a PR firm. But the damage was done. People saw her, really saw her, not the polished neighborhood watchdog, but the power-drunk bully behind the curtain. And us? We weren't in the shadows anymore. Caroline started answering calls again. Neighbors we hadn't seen in weeks brought casseroles and whispered, "I didn't know." And Ethan? He flew that drone every afternoon, mapped our whole neighborhood from above, watched the world from the sky, his way. It wasn't over, not even close, but for the first time in months. We weren't drowning. We were moving, and hope, after everything, finally felt real. Justice served and a fire rekindled. In court, Karen was still smug. She walked in like she owned the place. Hair perfect, lips tight. Pearl earrings, of course. She never dropped the pearls. She had a team of lawyers, a spokesperson, even a reputation management firm. She gave interviews on the courthouse steps, telling the press how this whole thing was politically motivated, how she was being persecuted for trying to protect her neighborhood. And for a while, she fooled them. She fooled a few of them, until the judge pressed play. The courtroom was quiet. Then the video started. You could hear Ethan crying. You could hear my voice, frantic. You could hear Karen's tone, sharp, commanding, unshaken after she'd fired a taser into a 12-year-old boy. Then came the emails, read aloud, word by word. Got rid of that little peeping creep. Freak show family. Let the fines pile up. That's how you break them. You could feel the energy shift. People shifted in their seats. One juror looked physically ill. Then Ethan's therapist took the stand. She talked about the sleepless nights, the regression, the panic attacks, the shame. How a child who used to find peace in the sounds of birds now jumped at every shadow. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just told the truth. And the truth was enough. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. $2.1 million in damages. Compensatory. Punitive. Symbolic. They didn't just pay us. They made a statement. This was wrong. This was targeted. This was evil. And it would not be tolerated. Karen? She was removed from the HOA board by emergency vote, barred from holding any leadership position again. A few days later, she was formally charged. Aggravated assault of a minor with a disability. She cried during the hearing, real or rehearsed, who knows. She told reporters we'd destroyed her life. No cameras caught me smiling. But I did, not out of joy, out of relief. Because justice isn't loud. It doesn't come with fanfare. It comes quietly, like the first breath after drowning, like the sun after weeks of storm, like a knock on the door, and this time no threat behind it. My wife? She's sober now. She hasn't had a drink in 6 months. She runs an advocacy group for parents like us, families with special needs kids who've been targeted, silenced, humiliated by HOA boards who think they're untouchable. She speaks at community centers. She's working on a bill with a local state senator, something about accessible housing protections. I still catch her crying sometimes, but now it's different. Now it's after meetings, after she sees the look in some mom's eyes when she says, "You're not alone anymore." Ethan? Ethan is flying again, not in planes, in pixels. His YouTube channel, The Backyard Birder, just hit 200,000 subscribers. He posts videos from the drone that man in Oregon sent him, voiceovers with bird facts, time-lapses of hawk migrations, tips for how to spot kestrels without disturbing them. Last week he got his first sponsor, an eco-camera company. He read the ad copy himself, stumbled once, corrected himself, kept going. He smiled after. And I swear to God, that smile, it was brighter than any verdict. And me? I ran for HOA president. Yeah, I know. Ironic, right? But I wasn't going to sit back and watch it happen again. Not here. Not anywhere. I didn't run to punish anyone. I ran to rebuild, to burn the old system down, one policy at a time. We rewrote the bylaws, guaranteed ADA compliance, no exceptions, banned personal enforcement of rules, added transparency requirements, banned retaliation against residents, and maybe best of all, we added a clause. Any board member caught targeting a resident based on disability, race, income, gender, or belief is removed, automatically, no vote required. It passed, unanimously. Even the pearl-wearing crowd clapped. And here's the truth of it all. They tried to silence a child because he was different, because he didn't fit their mold, because he made them uncomfortable. They tried to bully a family because they thought we wouldn't fight back, because they thought we didn't matter. But justice? Justice isn't quiet. It may take time. It may come bruised and battered. But when it comes, it leaves fire behind. People keep asking me what the moral is, why I stayed, why I fought. Here it is. Sometimes the meek don't inherit the earth. Sometimes the meek lawyer up. They sue it into the ground, and they plant something better in the ashes. For Ethan, for Caroline, for everyone who's still waiting to breathe again.